What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Bless. I'm kicking it with my co-hostess with the mostest, Let Me Know. And today we have a very special guest, the voice of the city, a legend in the Montreal rap game, a legend in the scene, and a pioneer of urban radio. Gotta say that, Mr. Don Smooth. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for that fantastic intro. I get that a lot. People say, you're legendary, and it feels kind of strange to hear that.
Well, I think as we get older, consistency equals legendary. So
well said. I like that.
I guess
that.
Consistency is like a fine wine. So we definitely have one of the main voices in the city that, being from Montreal, being a young kid, growing up listening to hip hop, always listened to this gentleman right here. Introduce yourself for anybody who might be, tuning in from other cities who might not be familiar with
yes, indeed. It's yours truly, Don Smooth, as you said, voice of the city, holding it down in Montreal, did the radio thing. Last 14 years. I just
K103.
said not too long ago.
Street Sounds.
You know what it is. The longest running daily urban show, possibly, if not in Montreal, but in Canada.
Amazing.
Altogether.
Congratulations
on
on
urban
that.
thing on a daily basis.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much for that.
Quick time out.
And
in Canada?
Yeah, there was no real urban show on a daily basis.
No, there definitely wasn't.
Not on a daily basis.
There definitely wasn't.
So
there definitely was. So longest running urban show.
Yeah.
When did you start?
I started officially. I did my first show, Street Sound show, was in April 19th, 2004. I remember because it was a week after my birthday.
2004.
And I remember I was sitting down playing NBA Ballers with my cousin. I got the phone call. I was called to come in. The time program director was CJ, Kristen Jerome. She said, Don, can you come in and do the Street Sound show? And I was like, at that time, Street Sound show was the it of all, like, urban in Montreal.
Of course.
And I was like, wow. Like, yes, I'm there. I took 2 shots, went down to the radio station, and what started out was supposed to be like a 2-week replacement, ended up to 14 years.
Well, you did a fantastic job. We were always tuning in, always very inspired. And what I loved about your show was that, you always gave a platform to local artists who could come on and play their shit, and you were always very supportive, even of cats such as myself, but everybody else. So definitely I appreciate that, and I'm sure the whole scene salutes you for that.
But not to interrupt you,
please.
A big part of that, it was the fact that, because I'm a DJ first and foremost. I was a DJ for many years before that in the club scene, heavy in the club scene. And I always felt that, we were always given the platform and the stage to, the New York DJs or the Toronto DJs or the out-of-town DJs. So when I got in that position, I said, this is the time now. I'm going to ride with Montreal, and I'm going to bring up Montreal as much as possible and promote Montreal.
And you're one of the few people, I think, that actually use their platform to pull others up, which is so important. And I always say that if there was more people such as yourself, Don, using their platforms to unify the scene, then we would be maybe in a lot different place industry-wise.
Could possibly, yeah.
But we'll get to that after.
I think one of the main things is that there's not a lot of industry here. So once you get to a certain level, there's not a lot to do. Whereas guys like yourself and radio DJs, club DJs, guys like that, that's kind of the end-all, be-all in our city.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate
but what I'm saying is that if more people had used their platform to do what Don was doing, we would have had a lot more of a community and a lot more of an industry to give outlets to artists. Because I'm sure, you could speak on this. I always felt, from an artist perspective, that what was unfortunate is we never had a lack of talent.
No.
And we have a vibrant nightlife.
Very.
What I thought we were missing was infrastructure and industry,
right?
To be able to push those, not after, where to go, what outlets,
right? Yeah.
When once you visit Don Smooth, and you play, you open for whoever's coming to town, there was kind of a ceiling there.
Yeah.
And Music Plus wasn't really supporting English hip hop as much as they should have or could have,
Definitely.
And I mean, there was politics there, and props to them. But I feel like there was a few people who had opportunities but didn't do what you did. So,
well, I was
definitely
fortunate
salute to
that K103, after a while, they let me pretty much, I had carte blanche. I could do whatever I wanted.
And that's very unique in radio.
Is very unique.
You can tell people. Usually people in Don's position, they're told by a program director,
you get
this is
list.
what you play.
And that's
if you don't play this, you're fired.
Right.
If you play shit that's not on this list, you're fired. And don't stray from this subject when you talk.
Yeah.
You know, but that I didn't realize that you really had carte blanche.
Well, it didn't start off that way, obviously. When I came in, I had the playlist. I had the list of songs to play that I had to follow. And after, it wouldn't even take that long. Maybe after a couple of months, 3, 4, 5 months in, and they saw the reaction to the show and the vibe to the show and the sales were good on the show, the advertising was good. They said, you know what? We trust you.
Yeah.
You play what you want to play. You structure the show. You make the segments that you want to do.
That's a unique position that they put you in.
And they trusted in me. They gave me that control, that power to do that. And I said, okay, bit by bit, I didn't do it overnight.
Yeah.
But bit by bit, I said, okay, I'm going to put this in. I'm hearing these dudes. These dudes are nice. They need to be heard. Who else is going to play them?
He was the first one. This is a bit of history. I don't know if you remember this.
Okay.
But he was the first one I had done a joint with Twista. When Twista was super popping, and I brought it to him, and he was the first one to ever play that joint, and it was actually produced by my homie Frank Dukes, who went on to produce tons of shit for Drake and this new pop singer Camila Caballero.
Right?
He did her whole album.
Wow.
So
See, I didn't even know that.
Don was a major forefather in promoting like Canadian hip hop before it was even like cool.
I'm glad you said that, and I feel and I tell people I made
really
it cool
were,
to
man.
play Montreal music. For some reason, people always and you know because you're in the industry, of
course,
there was always like a stigma. It's like it sounds Canadian, and I hated that. Like when people would say, "Oh,
hey, you know what, guys?
Canadian.
It's pretty fucking cool to sound Canadian now, huh? Hey,
you know
the rest of the world doesn't really mind this. This unheard of Drake guy, huh? You know, no, but it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Because. And it loops right back to what I'm saying, that people like yourself got a great position and did something cool with it, right? As Drake was able to do for so many producers from Toronto and so many other people in the game. And
just
sometimes
put on for people.
It just takes that one light to be shined on a scene or a city or an artist or a camp to expose it to the mass market, and then everybody's like, wow, this shit's amazing.
Everybody's paying attention.
Exactly. And it's just the light that needs to be shined on.
That's it.
Because we've always had talent. I mean, A-Track comes from Montreal.
Yeah,
K-Tranada comes from Montreal.
Definitely.
Tommy Cruise,
Bless, High Classified, people killing it on the French side, and there'll be more and more and more. Yeah. But without guys like Don Smooth, without people like us taking initiative to do a podcast, where do you go if you're a young, talented kid starting up?
That's it. You're very limited. I mean, now you have more outlets, obviously, because you got the internet.
Of course. But then they always say, oh, well, you know, you're not buzzing if you don't have... Exactly.
You can't go outside.
But if home's not... There's no microphone to talk into, what do you want to do?
But you know what I came to realize, Bless, when I was doing that show? People in Montreal were not aware of our hip-hop scene. Like, the MCs, their friends and their circle, their entourage know of them.
Division, a lot of division.
But people on the outside, like just the average radio listener, were not aware of all of these dudes.
Absolutely.
They were making good music in the city. And then when it started coming out, they started, having
saying,
an effect
wow, this
on
is
them.
from
It's
Montreal.
Like,
wow,
it's like, this is good.
But that's what it is. Sometimes, it's like McDonald's and Burger King, they're next door, or Esso and Petro-Canada are next door, and people are going to pick between A and B.
Yeah.
So half of winning is just being there. Like when I put out my first record, just being on the shelf in HMV was a big deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now that retail's not really a thing anymore, music-wise, it's interesting that, yes, there are more outlets with social media and podcasts and everything, but it's also like a drop in the ocean.
Yeah.
Everybody could put content up.
Everybody's on there. What makes you stand out?
Bingo. And sometimes, like if Don Smooth played your record and you had a release in HMV, shit, that was a big deal. You already,
huge.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then that would open people's mind enough to say, let me check this guy's project.
I have a question, Don.
Yeah.
From the beginning, which 14-year span on the radio. That's
right.
What
Yeah. From 2004.
From the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
What? Not the biggest, because I'm putting you on the spot, but what are some of the biggest changes that you've seen from when you got on to when you left us?
Biggest changes in terms of Montreal, the scene?
As far as the music scene goes, what have you seen, like
in general,
a progression? Ideally, something positive that we can fall back on. But I mean, what have you seen as far as when you got on to where you left it? Let's call it. And you didn't leave it because you're still very much present. But
yeah, definitely. I just left. That chapter's closed,
show,
and I'm still going on.
The radio segment, that part of your history.
Yeah.
What was the biggest? Difference?
I'll tell you one of the biggest highlights. There's many.
Right.
But one of the biggest things that I've seen as someone, like I said, I've been in the Montreal scene for years as a club DJ before the radio and all that. but I think it was 2010-ish, 2011 when I saw a sold out show, Corona Theater. It was the Bad News Brown show. It was like 20 or 30 local acts, and it was sold out. I've never seen that.
New Money.
Yes, the New Money Showcase. It was all Montreal talent, no out-of-towners, and it was full.
Shout out Bad News Brown, R.I.P.
Yeah, man, a big R.I.P. to Bad News Brown and Matt Dutch Garner, who's a big part of that.
Of course,
huge,
likewise, R.I.P.
What I was looking out at the crowd, I was on the stage, I was DJing for the show, and people were rapping along to a lot of the music. And I was like,
amazing.
And that's even not pre-social media, but that's at the beginning. That's MySpace. That's the beginning of YouTube.
The early days.
People weren't really discovering everything
it wasn't
online.
Close to what it was now. Yeah. This was solely off of the strength of hearing these songs on radio, and then what the cats were doing with it.
Solely off the strength of pretty much your show.
Well,
because let's be honest, there was nobody.
A lot of it had to do
there
with
was
the
Masters
show.
at Work who were also supportive, but they were only on for 2 hours once a week,
Yeah,
whereas Don was on.
I was beating it in their heads four nights a week.
And another thing Don did, he was the first one that announced Bless being in the video game.
Yeah.
The Def Jam game.
We had spoke, and he was like, "Yo, can I talk about it?" And I'm like, "As of this date, they made me sign a non-disclosure." So I'm like, as of whatever it was, October, November, go for it. And I remember he talked about it on the radio, and people were like losing their minds. People were coming up to me, "I just heard, is this true?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
Because that was a big deal. Like, that was huge.
It was.
You were in one of the biggest, most popular video games.
To this day,
it still is a big deal.
To this day, people find me on social media and they're like, "Holy fuck, Bless from Def Jam fight for New York." I don't think they know like certain dudes in pockets of the States know me for the game. I don't know if they know a lot of my music, but they definitely know me for the game. I swear,
that's all that matters. The catalog they'll get to. You're in the game.
Well, and our songs were in the game too, which was great. Right. But no, that was definitely a big help and came totally
random.
That
was a huge look for the city.
And Don announced it. You see, again, using his platform to push not just myself, but countless other people. And I would say you and Shahid are kind of the only people, and of course Masters at Work, of course, shout out to those guys because they've been very supportive. But you're talking about a handful of guys in a city of millions. Yeah. And that is something that we have to address, and we, as being some of the OGs in this game locally, need to change.
Right. Yeah.
We need to have a dozen outlets for everybody to politic, come together, talk their shit, and collaborate.
And when we have those outlets and people could come together, you see
creativity.
Yes. Like, there was so much unity during that time.
Of course.
And Lemme-Kno knows that. We even sparked out. We started doing West is Major. We were doing shows out in Bourbon Street in the West Island. And these were weekly hip-hop shows in the West Island. Dudes were coming from Uptown, DG, Burgundy.
I think that was the craziest
Everybody was coming to the West Island at Bourbon Street for hip-hop shows on a weekly basis to watch local talent. I had never seen that before.
That's right.
There was a unity.
That's right.
And there was cats from all over.
And I say this all the time, and I'd love to get your take on it. I feel like we can only blow up as long as there's a sense of community around an artist.
Well, we were there. I mean, to go back on what you just said, Don, when you have the Boy Blues and the I Blasts and the Magnums, and they're all in the building, even Bad News and Dutch, rest in peace, they were both in the building for some of those shows. When you have that much talent in one room, then people are going to start messing with each other, they're going to start doing songs together. There was a sense of unity there that I don't think has ever...
And what I'm trying
hasn't repeated since.
Right?
And what I'm trying to say is, obviously, unity is super important, but it's never about one artist or one producer or one project. It's the movement that, it's like a politician. The president or the prime minister, he's the guy who delivers the message, but there's a pyramid of people helping make those decisions. Everything got to get signed off on, and then the guy who's elected delivers the message. An artist is like a politician. He's delivering the message. Drake's the head of state right now for Canada, but there's 100 people making a full-time living off the success of Drake plus. He's a movement all onto his own. And what I would love for maybe artists and creatives and people in the business or trying to get into the business to take away from what I'm saying is the more we work together, the more food's going to be on the plate for all of us.
Well, it goes back to the old time saying there's strength in unity, right? And
there is.
And I saw it at that point. Like he mentioned also, a lot of people were collaborating. A lot of people that probably would not even have spoken to each other before. Everybody was collaborating.
Absolutely.
Everybody was coming out to see what the other person was doing, and everybody
rather than competing with each other.
It makes you rise. It makes the competition, the quality.
Of course. And no one artist ever does it himself.
No.
There's team of producers, teams of management, showcases that he's doing with other artists, nights that are trickling off, after party events, and everybody down to busboys and waiters are making money off of that. You know what I'm saying, though?
It's true, though.
It's an industry, and a lot of people don't realize that the reason the States always dominated in hip-hop is because they've had an infrastructure and an industry monetizing hip-hop culture since the 80s.
Yeah.
We were late to that party.
Yeah.
But look what happens when a Canadian gets in office.
That's crazy.
And just
crazy.
Growing and growing and growing.
Just to add to it, for those West is major shows, and I know the New Money show, every artist got paid.
Yeah.
I mean, whether it was $50 or $100, it wasn't a lot.
It's
but
the appreciation.
Exactly. Everyone got, I mean, the DJs got, everyone got a little something. I mean, no one's walking away with like thousands, but like there was nights where I left with like $500-$600. I was like, holy shit.
Whereas opposed to before that, they were getting hit up by promoters saying, well, you want to come and open at this show, perform, sell some tickets or drop me some bread.
So and that's all pay to play now. So I think that might be a major difference, that now it's totally become pay to play, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? People solicit artists to open
it's not
for
about
shows,
the talent anymore.
And they just say, okay, I want 2 G's for the slot.
Well, it's the same thing as with DJing as well, right? It's like nowadays it's more, what can you do for me?
That's right.
Can you pack up my club?
100%.
Do you have skills? Can you mix? Okay.
Doesn't matter, but
doesn't matter.
I have 30,000 followers.
You could bring X amount of people.
That's right.
You got the gig.
Right.
Whereas before it was strictly about talent.
Strictly about skill.
And it had to be proper.
And your party was embarrassing.
Yeah.
If there was, if you had mad people at your party and your DJ wasn't on point, oh my God.
People talk
you
about
might
it.
get beat up.
People talk about it.
Or
you
might get rushed. Yeah, like I come from the Gary T days,
yeah.
Gary was managing me when I was a kid.
Shout out to Gary T.
Shout out to Gary T. See what I'm saying?
He discovered me as a DJ.
I just bumped into Gary T in the neighborhood on Fielding. I just seen him on the corner. I was picking up something from UPS. Who's that, Bless? Standing on the corner. He said, what you doing now? You not rich for music yet? Gary T was one of those guys who, along with Ricky, Shaheed, Don, started the scene.
Yeah.
And
that's where I want to
Gary
go.
T.
What's some of your earliest memories, Montreal hip hop, even before the DJ stuff?
Actually, why don't we start here? Sorry to cut you off.
Go.
How does Don Smooth start as a DJ? How did you fall in love with the culture? Where did you start? Way before Don Smooth,
much time
the radio. We have as much time for you. We have as much time.
You know what? I was a music lover from a child. I always loved music, and it was all kinds of music.
What'd you grow up listening to in your house? Was it
soul music, a lot of soul music.
Like who? Give me names. Not the obvious.
Otis Redding.
Yes. The Isleys.
The Isleys.
The OJs.
Not so much the OJs, because I grew up in a West Indian household, right?
Okay.
So
that was my next question.
It was majority calypso and reggae. But there was the Sam Cooks in there and the Benny Kings and, some Teddy Pendergrass here.
Basically the best shit on earth to sample.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
That has been sampled to shreds.
Stuff. And but something about me, I was, because my family, they used to party a lot. And a big thing with me was like the old school turntable, put the turntable on, you could stack records on it.
Playing dominoes.
And
drinking
and I
rum.
would be the one going and changing the records. And I was just fascinated about the whole vinyl and watching it turn and the music and watching the reaction from people. And then, I don't want to date myself, but I remember going to like Sam the Record Man and Sherman's as a kid in elementary school. And
I remember high school
buying 45s.
playing video games at Sam the Record Man. They used to have the demos and we go skip school and play there.
So it started from then. And I was always a music lover, something that probably people will know about me way before DJ. And I played saxophone, I played guitar. I actually sold my guitar as a teenager to buy turntables. So I was always very, very into music.
So heavy musical influence in your household. What part of the city did you grow up in?
I grew up in Park Extension.
Park X.
And that's where I met Gary T. He grew up in that neighborhood. He was like one of the OGs at the time when I was a young kid coming up. Le Chateau, you want to know one of my oldest memories? There was a breakdancing group. This is like, I'm talking the Beat Street breaking era.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm so glad that I got to witness the birth of a lot of it firsthand. Like a lot of the kids will come up now, they'll see the movies, they'll read about it, but I witnessed the dudes in the park breaking.
And not just that.
We're talking 80s?
I'm talking the 80s.
Like
80s,
mid-80s.
Mid to late 80s. Yeah.
And you know what? And this is another thing I'm curious to get your perspective on because, you're a little older than me. Mm-hmm. What I felt made guys like us music lovers was it was a little harder. You had to go collect the records. You had to find the single. You had to find the 12, the maxi single, the 12-inch.
Big time.
You know what I mean? So there was a certain amount of work that went into
Hunters
it.
and gatherers.
And then, there was a amount of pride.
Yeah.
You understand? The man had to sell his instrument to be able to try and DJ, not to get gigs, just to see if he had what it took to call himself a DJ. Then he had to carry crates of vinyl, schlep them around, and then he had to collect
I don't miss that.
them. No,
that's
nobody
one thing
does.
I don't miss.
But it made it special.
It made it special that, you know, there was certain back then. I loved the record, the crate digging. You know, we would go to Wow, or you know whatever the record store.
Near Barry Metro, they had that spot.
You know what I mean?
What was the spot name? Hold on, wait. Near it was on St. Catherine, next to where the Burger King is. Mars upstairs.
Oh my gosh! Are you serious?
I just hit you with a throwback.
Wow.
You remember
That's
that guy?
going back.
You remember that guy? There was like an old like chubby dude that was like, he looked like a cartoon character.
Or what about when Taboo?
And they had every record ever made there, but it was dusty and disgusting.
Dude, there was Labyrinth. There was so many different places back then.
Yes.
And then there was like the 99-cent stores around Barrie where you go digging, like Bless said, for the samples and for like some old stuff.
We were digging for
that was such
heavy.
That was a big part of it.
That was an era.
The digging, like to go and I found this and I found that, and
hell yeah,
I miss that part of it, but I definitely, like we said before, I don't miss carrying them crates.
Listen, technology antiquates everything.
Yeah,
and we can't complain. But there was a level of, you know, it was work.
Yeah,
and you had to put in your work and pay your dues on every level.
Oh, big time.
To even call yourself hip hop. Like if you come with those shoes. You see what he has on? I know the camera probably won't.
Are those Forces?
You gotta get the shoes.
No, bro.
Okay,
those are the SC trainers. Those are the SC trainers.
You got the bows on the bottom.
Bo Jackson SC trainers, bro. So it's like, just to have that shit, it's like for those who know.
Yeah.
Can't order that online. It's like,
Definitely
where did you
not.
find those?
Yeah.
And you better be real to keep them too. Because you got to wear those.
That's
you
right.
got to get home with them. And that's the era. Like everybody always is like, oh man, you're such a hard ass. Like, you know, the culture's for everybody, but not everything is for everybody.
That's right.
Not everything
you're
should
old school.
be for everybody.
You're old school in
I'm
that grandfather old school way of hip hop. You know what I mean? There's a way, there's a right and a wrong. And
Bless is the young old school.
Right.
Like he was a kid coming up.
I was a
during
baby
that
then,
time.
but I was looking up to guys like Don, where I'm like, yo, I better make sure I have my P's and Q's. I better make sure I have my what's the expression?
Got your A game on.
No, not the A. The I dotted and
Dot
the T
the I's and cross the T's.
Exactly. Thank you. Sorry, I've been drinking. I better make sure my shit is tight, because at the end of the day, I think this culture of ours, this hip hop shit, it was serious back then.
It was
more serious.
It was very authentic. Not to say that's not authentic now.
There's a lot of great artists coming out now, and there's a lot of amazing shit. But back then, like, you were getting checked. If you call yourself a DJ or an MC, number one, you have to battle.
Like, for example, them days, if you come out as a DJ and you mix off, the crowd will stop.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have
look
problems.
at you.
Yeah.
Like, and you make you feel stupid. Like, there was very small room for error.
And if you're an MC and you're not dope,
they're on you.
Oh man, they might bottle you. They might throw something at you. You're getting rushed off stage. Like, that's a fact.
And you had to be. And I mean, this is, you guys are talking, so I'm going to stay out because this is before my time. But at the same time, I know that there was a level of, you had to be out in the public, and you had to like.
Oh yeah, because there's no social media.
Right? You had to like show yourself off in person.
Yeah. If you're a rapper, you're a DJ, you gotta be at the clubs. Even if you're not working a performance, you gotta be in the clubs.
When I went on his show several times, like, we would call each other and talk like normal people. And we would have a rapport. We would have a rapport when he brought me on his show. Dude, and it was a genuine rapport. So it was a good conversation.
Perfect examples tonight. You're like, Don Smooth's coming. I'm like, no fucking way.
Oh yeah, I didn't even tell him. I just surprised him. I said, yo, I'm gonna call some of my people. I'm gonna book some guys to come on.
And like I was telling you guys off air, like, this is the first time I've done an interview since the Noisy one with Vice about 2-3 years ago.
Right, which was
I don't
amazing.
really do a whole bunch of interviews. I like being on the other side of it. But
well, thank you for coming.
When you called me and realized what, you showed me the trailer of what you're doing, I was like, I know you do your shit right. And it's proper. Like, I'm not just gonna jump on and do anything for the sake of doing it. But I said, I know you do your stuff right. So
thank you, brother.
I said,
If I called, it might have been a different story.
I wouldn't say that.
This sloppy
I might have
guy.
come next week.
Respect.
Well, that's why I'm the one making the calls. But
Let's make the calls, please.
moving along. So
Yeah.
you start out, you're in love. You know, you're surrounded by music as
Yeah.
a child. You sell your guitar.
Yeah, I sold my Fender Stratocaster, my black Fender Stratocaster.
Nice. Wow.
And I got pretty nice on it too. And I could read
I
music
bet.
and all of that.
I bet.
But there was just something about the DJ, and I was like, I want to try and get into
So
this.
how long from you practicing in the crib till you starting to play? I'm sure it was house parties, block parties, church parties.
Yeah, a lot of house
course.
parties, school parties.
Blessie's from the old school.
You know
bro.
what I mean? That's what it was for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got like my big show. Once again, shout out to my dude, Gary T. I opened up for, it was, no, I want to say Public Enemy. That was one of the first shows I went to. It was the Ice Cube Steady Mobbin' Tour 1992.
I remember
at the
hearing
Rialto
they chased him or
Theater.
something with some
No,
crazy
he was
story.
cool. There was some
There was some
kind of funny
See,
things
that
going
was
on
some
with
story.
Coolio.
Yeah.
There was some funny ish with
okay.
Coolio. Was
Yeah.
acting kind of funny. It was Del the Funky Homo Sapien, and that was my first show.
Hieroglyphs.
And I was like, wow, it was
said
amazing.
it at
And you
the same
DJ'd the
time.
show?
I DJ'd the show.
Wow.
Was an amazing
And
experience.
then from then on, it was him Insane DJing every fucking
yeah,
show.
we were in
Right.
the same era.
That was
Yeah, yeah,
Pretty much,
yeah.
right?
Insane became my DJ
Yeah.
because Don Smooth was on the radio, and the rest was history.
Oh, it was crazy. It
These
was
were
good
the
times.
guys.
Quick one.
Yeah.
Best show and worst show. And when I say-
Worst show, there's a few. But the first one that popped into my mind was Lloyd Banks at Rainbow Heights. The name was different at the time. He came on and he had a little bit of attitude and was like, he was going back and forth with somebody in the crowd and rubbed somebody the wrong way. And then like he hit somebody with a microphone and then pandemonium broke out. I just saw glasses were flying everywhere.
You want to
towards
hear
the
a good
stage.
one? I don't know if you remember, but when he came back, I was the special guest on the Lloyd Banks tour.
Wow.
But we was at the Dome,
Okay.
and the crowd was not receptive. See, it's interesting you said that because I didn't realize that it happened at probably a bit
That's
before at
probably why.
Rainbow Heights.
Oh, it
And
was
somebody
bad.
threw a bottle and hit Lloyd Banks, and Who Kid was playing, and they were like gonna like cancel the show. And we had done 14 cities. We had done all of Canada. It was a great tour, and this was the only bumpy stop was here.
Bumps in Montreal and they took off. Like they didn't even go to the hotel. They got in the tour bus and they left and went to the next stop. Which I
Lloyd
believe was
Banks not
Toronto.
welcome in Montreal.
Eh?
Lloyd Banks doesn't have a good rep
Not
here.
that night. Definitely not.
It's funny that he brought up Lloyd Banks. We're gonna try and cue some footage of that night. I have that.
Oh, it's on
somewhere.
YouTube.
Oh,
and you even
fight?
got dirt work as Lloyd was running out. They were capturing it, and he's, aren't you you and that? And like you just see Lloyd like making a dash running out of the venue. It's on YouTube. You can see that right now.
That's
Google
crazy.
that. Yeah.
Give us another horror story because these are fun.
This is
Oh
fun.
wow.
And then a good one after that, please.
I don't know because the worst pops in like it comes to the mind quickly.
Another horror story. This is great.
Oh man.
There was one. I'm not gonna name any names.
Well, you can't tell his story. You
no,
tell
but,
your
but someone
story.
grabbed a mic and was upstairs while a guy was performing.
Oh no.
I forget what show
horror
that was.
story, and this is like not even like amusing horror. Was when Rick Ross came. That
Oh,
was probably one of the worst.
A girl got a stiletto in the head. or
Oh,
something.
it was bloody. It was like I don't
What
even
happened?
think he got 2 songs deep. Maybe
and the
2
cops
songs
after
in.
that. The
But
cops.
why?
I mean, there was a
not
lot of
feeling it.
hostility. Like there was like
Well, it also
whole
gathered the
eclipse,
wrong
and
crowd.
There was all the eclipses were there, so that creates a vibe from the jump, from the beginning, right there. People are very
100%.
hostile. And then he went on, he started performing, and there was a lot of stuff, rumors before the show saying that he was warned, you can't come and perform here in Montreal, and blah, 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 and certain people are going to show up. And it just turned into pandemonium. And like you said, like a girl was bleeding. She got hit, I don't know if it was a shoe or a bottle.
It was.
I
a
was
heel of a
upstairs,
shoe.
and if you know the Olympia venue, bottles were flying upstairs into the bottles.
And you know
bottles
what?
were flying
And
everywhere.
you know it's such a nice venue.
Yeah.
Olympia's a beautiful venue. Shout out my homie Patrick. He's one
And
of
it
the
is.
owners.
It's a great venue.
And great management there.
Yeah.
And they always do top notch shows. And I remember talking to him, and he was like, "What do you think of this Rick Raw?" And I said, "I think it's a great booking, but this is gonna be pandemonium."
And it was a bad look for Montreal at that time because here we are, we're getting Rick Ross. This was the height, like
In the height of Rick
Zay
Ross.
was like,
Yeah.
and for them, like for me, I never understood you come into a show to carry on and you don't like
look
Rick
for a
Ross,
problem.
you not feel. Just don't go to the show, but
Yeah.
to come into the show and just ruin it for everybody.
But what was
it's
this?
a bad look on the
07,
city.
08 vibes? 09, something like that.
So it was during the BMF times.
Yeah, so that's attracting a vibe, a rowdy vibe.
But if you hate Rick Ross,
I don't think they hate him. I don't
show.
think they hate him. I think a lot of knuckleheads wanted to show off to their homies to be the guy who's going to create
because it was
ruckus.
said, like, there was words,
Ross.
we're going to fuck up the show. Like, it was said before. But, you know, people went ahead and did the show regardless. Like, people always say things.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Sure.
But that show, like, I felt bad at that show because
Really
I
got
seen
fucked
people
up.
getting hurt. And I seen, like, the glass. And it was just crazy. And I remember I was actually with Bad News at that show upstairs. We ended up at one point, and we just pulled back to the wall. And we were just, like, watching him, like, what the hell is going on in here?
There was a lot of nights like that.
It was crazy.
You see, that was the dark side to hip-hop progressing commercially.
Yeah,
those were the far and few in between. I want to say that.
Right.
Yes.
That's not the norm.
No, was not the norm.
Like I said, I had to, really think about that.
I got one
Yeah.
when Biggie didn't make it across the border.
Well, I got the call about that, so I didn't even bother going downtown.
They tore up the fucking club. There was
I'm
a
under
riot.
the impression that's when Montreal hip hop started. Was Biggie didn't show up.
Nah,
that's
it
the
was
first thing
already.
that I ever heard about Montreal hip hop. Was Biggie didn't show up. Like, I don't know anything before that. Please fill me in.
I remember the show. I remember getting the call during the day because that was like huge. Like Biggie Smalls is coming to Montreal. Like,
I was a
that
baby.
was big.
I was like 12, so
It had to be like 94ish, 95ish.
Well, he was gone
It was
by-
off
in
the height of his
his
shit.
first album.
In the height of his shit.
I don't think the second. I don't think Life After That.
No, he never made it. No, he never.
Because he
made
was.
it. You know what's interesting? Sorry to cut you off. Yo, Biggie and Pac did not tour a lot.
No.
There's very limited footage. In fact, Pac
There's that House
never
of Blues.
came to Canada.
No.
There's the House of Blues show. That's all that I've ever seen.
That was local.
And Biggie went to Toronto.
And Biggie went to Toronto with the famous Rap City interview
Yeah.
and they're playing pool downstairs on, what's the club? Richmond Street, I believe. There used to be a little pool hall downstairs around the corner from Much Music. But yeah, Biggie came like once. Pac never came.
No.
Touring, these guys were selling so many records and generated.
And back then, the venues were not really receptive to hip hop. Like, I read some stuff on you just prepping before you got here, and you were saying that some of the early shows were in cafeterias.
My first show.
Here we go.
My first show was Flavor Unit. It was Audio 2.
Was Jay-Z part of Flavor Unit on that tour?
No, not even. Jay-Z didn't even exist at that time. Or at least not to the world anyway.
Yeah.
It was like Audio 2.
Oh, sorry, it was Original Flavor that brought him. Not
Flavor,
Flavor Unit was Queen Latifah
Positive
and them.
K.
Yes.
That's who it was. In the early days was Marymount High School was the venue.
What about when
Public
Big Daddy
Enemy played
came?
there.
What about Big Daddy Kane came? 88
Crazy.
in a
Eric
high
B
school.
and Rocket, it was at Marymount
They used to go
cafeteria.
to the school.
Where I went to
But it wasn't
summer
during
school.
the day, right?
No, they were nighttime shows
Okay,
in the
fine.
cafeteria though, but like Public Enemy and James Ling.
No stage?
James Ling
Or
was
they
in
set
the,
up a
yeah,
stage?
they always had a stage set up.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it was like these dudes used to come down those days and stay at the promoter's house.
Right.
Like there was no
They were just happy to
riders,
come out and play.
there was no entourage. They got on a plane, no work permits.
It was $1,000,
Came to Montreal,
like-
did a show.
Yeah.
They slept at the promoter's house and went back to New York.
Yeah.
That's how it was back then.
And you know what? But some of those shows were incredible.
They were like that was the early days and the infancy stages of hip hop.
we call the golden
when
era.
it was the golden era when it was still so raw.
Yes.
It wasn't on the radio at all. It was not in clubs at all. It was just like
For those who know.
those who know.
It was for the coolest of the cool.
Yeah.
For those who
It was
know.
that. It was super underground.
Do you remember, and this is a bit later, when KRS-One came to Metropolis, Step Into a World?
Yes.
That
could hear it.
changed
Yes.
my perspective on what's expected if you call yourself an MC, how to rock a crowd.
Yeah, 'cause
Just a microphone and turntables,
He
no
goes
gift.
above. He
High.
rises above and above.
When you talk about being an MC, right, master of ceremony, to control the crowd, stage presence, charisma, and confidence, sheer fucking confidence.
KRS could rock a stage without even singing a song.
Exactly.
Like he doesn't even have to perform.
La-da-dee-dee-da-dee-da.
And just his talk, like
Yo.
he just gets everybody amped and everybody moving. Like
I never saw nothing like that.
100%. Like
never saw
KRS
nothing like that.
commands a stage.
One of the,
like
one
I've
of the
never
best
seen.
live performers?
Hells yeah.
Yeah.
Hands down.
KRS, yeah.
Yeah.
And no bells and whistles. No fireworks, no live band, no
I've never
nothing.
had the privilege, but I will say Busta Rhymes is the best I've seen live.
Listen, Busta's energies, and we
that's
don't
me
need to
personally.
debate it.
I won't disagree with you at all.
But can I say something?
fair. Thank
Busta
you.
wouldn't perform the way he did if it wasn't for guys like KRS and
They set
LL.
the standard.
They
Those are the
set
dudes
that
who set the
standard.
bar.
And I had never seen anyone. Yes, I've seen the Roots put on crazy shows, and I've seen great shows. But KRS, just the mic,
Yeah.
And his DJ?
You know, I think a lot of that comes from the fact that he was in the early days of video also. Whereas everything was on your live performance.
Great point.
You know what I mean?
Great
A lot
point.
of that was on your live.
It
Your
was
live
all live.
show was
the
your
bridge is
video.
over, all that.
That
exactly.
was your
You're right.
video.
You're right.
So when they came and brought it, like a lot of
right.
the cats now, everything is video, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
But
It's all visual.
it's all
Nothing's in
visual.
real time.
It's not in real time.
But you're right. KRS-One came from a school where if you hit that stage, you better destroy it or your career is done. And
won't
your
get to
career
the
could be
video.
done. Yeah, there won't be another performance. If somebody, you know, and you remember there was that famous story when BDP rushed the stage and threw PM Dawn off. That
I
was like a
didn't know that.
legendary
Oh, really?
story. Yeah, PM Dawn was reaching a certain level of commercial success,
And
and
KRS just like, give me that mic.
they just rushed him and just took advantage and just
Sick.
BDP takeover. That's a classic.
crazy.
But yeah, KRS-One always stood out to me live. It was crazy.
And I would like to say that, Busta too.
Of course.
Busta's up there.
I remember was it
course.
the Rock the Mic tour?
It was the
50
one. It was the
Cent.
one where Bone Crusher started.
That's the
and
Rock the
almost
Mic
started a
tour
riot.
at the Bell
It
Center.
was 50 and Snoop. I
Bone
think.
Crusher, Fabulous, Snoop, and Busta came in like somewhere I think between Fabulous
It was in the
and,
middle of the show.
and 50 Cent and them, and he absolutely killed it.
Oh,
and he was yelling at a girl in the crowd and saying, he's like, if you don't put your hands up, I'm gonna fuck up your outfit. And started throwing water at her in the crowd and stuff. But his energy is like,
Yeah, his energy's out of
And give respect to Spliff Star, who throws him on like another level. He propels him to another level. One of the best hype men maybe
Definitely.
ever.
Do you remember Smoking Grooves?
I knew you were gonna say that. I knew you were gonna
but
say
maybe
that.
not the one with Gangstar.
The one I
The
saw.
one with
at-
Tribe, Fugees, and
No.
Cypress Hill.
Yes. When they were throwing when the
When the Bell Center first opened, the Molson Center or whatever.
They were throwing doobies.
Oh, I'm thinking Cypress. That was the
Yes,
first one.
Cypress. It was Cypress,
I'm thinking of
Tribe.
at Jerry Stadium.
Right.
That's the one with
Fugees.
Gangstar.
That's the one with Gangsta.
98, I think.
And
or
Rampage
99.
was there
Yes,
as well.
yes,
and
yes.
that's when the Black Eyed Peas were
Yes.
still underground.
I
band
took the
opening
Black
act.
Eyed Peas to Tokyo when they were here for that show. It was a Tuesday night. My homie Murad was doing one of the few underground hip hop nights. Had to be 98, 99. And
Before the
Smoking
Goon
Grooves
Tribe.
in 97.
that one
I
with
believe
Black
so.
Eyed Peas?
I believe so.
Whatever it was, whatever, you could be right.
Because I had the T-shirt.
I was like 15. I was
Yeah.
sneaking into the night. I took Black Eyed Peas to this night, and there used to be a lot of B-boys, you know what I'm saying? And it was like all underground hip-hop, like the Ruckus days and all that. And
Amazing.
Will.i.am and his boy, we were just fucking breakdancing in the middle of Tokyo, just fucking getting it
and
in, bro.
they were great then.
Great.
They were great
Some
then.
might say better.
That was
get
the
a-
Shout out
Fergie
Will.i.am.
days.
That's
Yeah.
how I met him.
Do you get a Fergie back then?
No, that was pre-Fergie
No,
days.
no.
That's what I thought.
That's when they were like underground backpack
Hip-hop,
rappers.
Backpack rappers, and amazing dancers.
Yeah.
Crazy.
The Asian dude
breakdancers.
was there?
Yeah.
Was he
All-
from the beginning?
all of them were there but Fergie.
Okay, but Fergie.
No
they,
female
They
in
brought
the
her
group.
Yeah,
in
there's
to
no
like kind
female.
of like diversify.
The label forced.
That was like
her
that's
up.
the joint. That's the jam days, right?
Exactly.
That's when
Turn that shit
single.
up.
Yeah.
Boom, 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 bro. I showed up with Black Eyed Peas. People didn't even know who the fuck
Not
they
a
were.
clue.
I'm like, yo, these guys are gonna be big.
And
They
look
were
at
just
that.
like, yo, we just want to dance. And to this day, I was in, Meet Them, the
Yeah.
music conference. I went to Meet Them like 5-6 years ago, and I'm in the south of France, and I'm in the lobby of the Majestic Hotel, which is like the W or whatever
Right.
conference,
Yeah.
and I see Will.i.am. And like people are like trying to like take pictures and shit. And I'm just there on bed, even say nothing. And he's like, oh, what, you're not going to say hi? I go, what, you recognize me? He
That's
goes,
cool shit.
you're hard to forget. Like, you're a character. He's like, come with me. Let's go get drunk. So these guys, man, that's how you could tell a pro. They never fucking forget a face.
Yeah.
Right.
They never and I don't think
That's
he
cool
remembered
shit.
me from like 97. We had
se,
met
but
many
he
times
knows that he's seen
after.
you,
But
right.
yeah. But that was a memorable one. But yeah, Smoking Grooves, the other one, when
Right.
it was Fugees, Cypress Hill, and Tribe.
And they were throwing joints on stage, like garbage bags
fuck,
filled.
bro.
I didn't go, but I heard.
I was there for that too.
Tribe and Fugees absolutely killed it.
Yeah. I think that was the first. That was the Bell Center, right?
The first
I don't know if it
stadium-
was the Bell Center yet. I think it was
Molson
Center.
Center.
still.
It was the
That
first
was the
stadium.
first hip hop show, I believe.
That's right.
That was held in the
That's
stadium.
pre. What was the one with Jay Z
one.
and
Yeah. the Hard Knock Life.
I love
exactly.
that show.
So that's the beginning of
Yes.
these multi-stadium, tours.
That's when hip hop just went to a whole nother
Right.
Bro, I
level.
remember me and my boy TFS. We snuck onto the floor because we had shitty tickets, and my boys were all older than me. You know what I mean? And I'm like a little ass kid with all my homies and shit. And they're like, "Yo, come on, man. We're gonna rush the barrier and
Right.
get in the pit." And I'm like, "Yo, I'm too small for all that." You know what I'm saying? Yo, we had the craziest time. Everybody's there. We snuck. We got right up to the front row. and it was just like Fugees with a live band, like Foo La La La, like holy fuck, and Tribe with the stadium,
Tribe
like,
shut it down.
Magical. And I remember, we had such a good time. And when I got home, I had an all-white polo rugby with a big-ass footprint on my and not to say somebody kicked me on purpose, but there was just so hype in the pit that the little Mitch just got a little.
I remember way back. You just like you've just struck a chord with me where there'd be all these like privileged people in the front row, let's call it. And then the second the main act would happen.
Oh yeah, once the lights go down,
relegated to the back. Like, sorry, your $300 seats. You're there now.
Yeah, we're here now.
Bless and his boys are coming up.
It was really Bless's boys and me on their shoulders, trying not to get ragdoll around. Also, I was 12 or 13.
Right.
But yeah, that was magic, man. And that's what I'm talking about. Even from like an industry standpoint, I'm sure like you could speak on this. The production value of an album was so high because you couldn't just make an album on your homie's laptop in somebody's crib. No. Back then, it cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to make these albums.
To properly
sonically,
to do anything musically.
Sonically, it sounded so incredible.
The production was a big deal.
Oh yeah,
money-wise, and then you had to press this vinyl.
Talk
press
about
the
that.
CDs and get it.
Talk about that.
You know what I mean? That's a
the
big
vinyl
deal.
costs 5 G's, but what about the mail out? You know what your FedEx bill was sending it to all the Don Smooths all over North America?
That's a big advantage that the cats have now that you guys didn't have.
Big advantage.
During that time, it was like you, Shades of Culture. There was only a handful. And making a video.
Narcy,
of course.
Narcy.
But Narcy came a little after.
A little later.
Yeah.
A little after.
later,
But I remember, Bless for sure was, and it was hard to put that out. Like to the graph work, to do the artwork and all that. Like he said, you weren't doing that on the laptop back then.
No.
You were going to a designer and a print
cost
shop,
thousands of
and you were
dollars,
paying big money. Pressing vinyl was not cheap,
and
then
shipping
mailing it
vinyl
out.
was even more expensive.
Vinyl is not light, and then you had to do the CDs and all of that. And
there's an advance, or there's something that's owed that is already put out. So now you have like a responsibility to make money for the label to get a second deal, a third deal, whatever. I mean, I bought his album. I don't know if you know this one. I bought his album before I knew who he was.
Very good,
right? Like,
that's good though. That's good though.
And you know what?
We spoke about this, but I need to tell you, like, it's funny that like I just saw, like, I'm like, yo, this dude's from Montreal. He's in HMV. This is a big deal. I'm like, I have to support this. I'm fresh out of high school. I'm I'm bumping the.
Thank you.
It's been 10, 12 years since I've heard it, but you put that on today, I know at least 3-4 songs off by heart. Nice. Without a doubt. Anyways, enough about
you know
me.
what? And you know what?
That's
we took, and going back to what we're saying, I took years to make that first record perfect. To put my best foot forward out, and I'm happy I did, because to this day
it's a big deal.
It's still a good body of work, and I think
up.
that's something that maybe a lot of people rush into, right? In the culture we're in, it's a fast food culture.
Exactly.
Content needs to go out 6 to 8 times daily. Yeah. Everybody's rushing shit, putting half mixed shit out there, and my concern is, I'm like you said, I'm pro technology. With one button, you can send your track for free to 20,000 DJs. You're a fool if you're not taking advantage of that.
You can make your video on a phone.
Great.
You know what I mean? It's great.
I did one for Pesci last week on my phone.
That was that?
In a couple weeks. I have a low Pesci music video in a couple weeks. We filmed it on a Steadicam on my phone, the whole thing.
Well, yeah, they're doing movies on phones, so why not?
That's dope.
But that should not, at the same time, the quality shouldn't go down because of that.
That's right. That shouldn't be the bar.
That's the thing. Fine, you could use, like Bless said, use the technology, and I'm 100% behind it, but you still got to put in
at least have 30, 40 videos on your belt before you start fucking around with the cell phone videos.
And my and my concern, as a hip hop lover, as a purist, as an enthusiast, forget an artist, is at what point does the culture go degenerate in terms of quality control? And I think that it's up to some of the OGs, the Jay-Z's and the Diddy's, to start doing some quality control, to being like, you know what, young guys, we're gonna give you deals, we're gonna help you, but we got to make sure that there's a minimum level of quality.
Do you not think it's too far gone, guys?
When the quality comes in, then there's quantity. And if these dudes are bringing in the dollars and making the money, and the crowd and the audiences are accepting of it, then I find there's not a huge incentive, unless you're like, you're really genuine from the heart, and you're like, you know what, we got to.
But if we are not, well, I know me and you are,
Yeah.
we're all three on the same page. Yeah. We are those guys. We care. But that being said, at what point does hip hop fizzle out and become like jazz music, which is always going to be a respected art form, but not necessarily in the forefront. And I've always felt like we are in danger of losing this fucking massive movement if we do not at least keep a certain quality control. And I think that's the responsibility of the big players, the J Princes and the Jays and the Master P's, to be gatekeepers, to be like, yo, I don't give a fuck. If you guys want to rap on some trap shit on a slower tempo, whatever, more power
love what
to
you're
it.
saying,
Make
Bless.
it good shit.
But make sure the vocals are good. Make sure the rhymes are, at least you put a little effort into your pen game, and let's keep it at an 8.
I love that. My question is, what happens when you got a guy like XXX, right? Rest in peace.
But he was talented. We shouldn't use him as an example.
Peep would be another one where it's like they put out music that's distorted on purpose so that it can't play on the radio because they're trying to be counterculture.
But hold on.
Where does that fit into that mold where it's like, you can't play this on the radio?
If you're doing some shit on purpose because it's a vibe and it's like the dirty mix sounds cool or whatever, I get that. I respect that. That's like wearing an outfit. You know what I mean? Like example, like take Don's rugby. We would wear that same rugby back in the day with the smaller pony, but it was 2 sizes bigger.
Yeah.
Right? There's nothing wrong with repurposing styles. Like now that's the style. But if he came in with one arm ripped off and one collar out, you know what I mean? And then you'd be like, yeah, I see what you're doing, but it's not hitting the mark.
Right,
I get that it's a polo rugby.
Yeah.
But we're being a little too ironic now. You feel me? Yeah. And I just think that we all can agree
as long as
you're status quo.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
And I get that. I mean, because I've come up from playing the music, from listening to it to playing the music.
Yeah.
And of course, it's changed. Lyrically, it's changed. Sonically, it's changed.
And I'm cool with all of that.
And I'm cool with that because it has to evolve.
Everything
evolves. I
evolves.
love boom bap 90s rap, but it has to evolve. It can't stay there forever. And
I agree.
When you talk about the level and the quality of it, we're kind of comparing it to the 90s. What was the bar that was set in the 90s, which it's no longer, that's not the same bar.
That's not the bar.
It's not the bar.
And it can't be the bar.
And it can't be.
It can't be the bar. We can't dress like Biggie for the rest of our lives.
And it doesn't have to be.
But check this out. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you're gonna sing like T-Pain, not like someone who's never sang before. If you're gonna rap, you don't have to be Jay or Nas, but like make sure you're at least like a solid 7.5. Like that's all I'm saying. And if it's slower tempo,
but dudes are like a 2 on 10, and they're making the song in 12 minutes, freestyling it.
But this is when we're crashing and burning as a culture. When the effort is not. I'll give you a great example. Styles P and Dave East just put out a project. Everybody's giving it great reviews. Dave East is a young cat. You know what I mean? Trendy dude, but he's respecting that culture by doing this shit with Styles P, and Styles P is benefiting from a new cat like Davies who respects his lineage, and that's pushing the culture forward. And I don't just mean 90s hip-hop, I just mean the art form. I think there's a difference when you get the little this and the little that who make an album in 1 hour and who just shit out content mindlessly, and when a Kendrick or a Drake or a Cole gets on, you see a difference in impact in the culture there.
Definitely. And it's something that's going to last a little longer.
Exactly.
It's like, now you mentioned the little, like a Little Pump, Gucci Gang. You know,
cute song. We always had one hit number.
And that's some stuff. I'm gonna bump that in the club, and I'll play that in the club.
No hate. Love
to see the reaction.
No, and you know, I like the Pump Kanye song.
I just think I think there's room for everything.
But there was always little pumps. There was Do the Stanky Leg. There was them Franchise Boys.
I think that was the start of the whole movement.
Of course. There was always
trendier rap, the in style rap.
The one hit wonders.
At the end of the day, I look at it, I'm like, you know, that's their lane. Yeah. They're doing them. They're not gonna be lyrical. Post Malone has come out. He's like, I'm not a lyrical dude. I'm not going to be a lyrical dude.
But you know what? Post Malone,
make some catchy shit that everybody's going to sing along.
Post Malone is a talented songwriter and a talented singer. Post Malone doesn't classify himself as a rapper.
No.
That's why I don't hate on Post Malone. Yeah. Post Malone's like, I'm a singer-songwriter. Yeah. I'm a kid who likes to make songs, and he's artistic. We shouldn't hate on that. And I've always said there should be different categories for guys like Joey Badass and Action Bronson and guys like Bless and guys like Lil Peep and whoever, you know, whatever. These should be subgenres at this point because hip hop has grown to be a multifaceted thing, right? So you can't really put like, you know, Kendrick and Little whoever and say who has the album of the year, it's a joke. They don't make the
There's
same.
got to be.
Well, it depends who you're
subcategories.
asking, right?
Well, I just don't think it should be categorized together. That's
right.
all.
Okay.
There's adult contemporary rock. There's heavy metal.
Yeah.
There's this. There's that.
So there should be trap. There should be like happy raps, whatever you want to call
There
it.
should be, you know, like different subgenres of hip hop.
That
There
makes
has
sense.
to be.
But I think there already is, right? Like there's those people that.
But when
they,
you go-
they don't have it in terms of the charting and in terms of like the award shows. They don't break it down. But you have.
But they
they
need
have
to.
all those subgenres.
Well, yes, but I mean, there's pretty much how many genres? There's trap,
Yeah.
there's boom bap,
There's the boom bap.
and there's what now?
Well, you know what? There's
I would say.
Is there even
backpacks.
R&B in anymore?
No.
You see my
There
point.
is, but yeah.
There is, but there isn't.
Yeah, there's R&B. There's the R&B.
People are like, oh,
hip-hop
Weeknd's my
song.
favorite rapper. Really? I didn't know Weeknd rapped.
Yeah.
Post Malone's a great rapper. Really? I didn't know Post Malone rapped.
Everything is just kind of like.
right because it's
just
popular
blending
music.
Well, because that's the
Hip-hop
internet.
became popular
Yeah.
music, guys.
Hip
That's a
hop
big-
been
that's a-
popular music.
You know, like when I first started listening to hip hop, you were buying it like cigarettes behind the counter, and now it's like it's in the forefront. You go to like any radio, like what's the big radio now? The one Q92 switched to
The Beat.
The Beat's playing hip hop. Like
have to.
Everybody has to
right?
play
They have
hip-hop
to.
now.
Whether they want to or not, they have
When
to.
you
Everybody has to
when
play
you started,
hip-hop
you
now.
were the only one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Nobody was touching that
The
stuff.
game's changed now.
But don't you find hip hop was already popular music / pop culture when Big and Jay
For
and,
us,
and
but
Pac
not-
had their run?
That's when it took off like
the
majorly.
fuck off,
and
bro.
it took the industry
Time to
at
catch
least
up.
in Canada.
Yeah. Oh God.
It took Canada 10
You know
years
what
to
it
be like,
was?
oh shit, this is not just a fad. This is real.
Done. Nobody was playing our shit at radio except for you and Flo in Toronto.
Right.
That was it. Because Canadian standards, if you didn't have a female R&B singer on some Ja Rule shit on your beat, they weren't even considering giving you rotation.
You need that
like,
in
don't
melodic.
even submit it, Bless.
No, I know.
What? There's scratches? Oh God, don't do.
Well, shit. When Rihanna put out Umbrella, they weren't playing the Jay-Z verse on it.
That's so.
And
we
this
were
is
so behind.
Jay-Z.
We were so behind. And
And
Jay Z was already here.
Was
like-
already there. Even when the one came out, DJ Khaled, they cut off half of the verses. They cut off Lil Wayne on it, I believe. They just kept on like the Beaver and the Quavo verse.
Yeah, it's so
They
bad.
cut off all the. And this is 2016, 2017.
Right, a couple years ago.
And they're still doing it.
Yeah.
Even when Hotline Bling came out, I heard, oh man, what's that folksy? Was it Sam Smith? They had a Sam Smith version of Hotline
yeah.
Bling that was getting.
Oh, I did hear
that was
that.
playing on the radio more than the Drake version. They'll play it at night, but you'll never hear it during the daytime. So
Crazy.
Canada has always been, unfortunately, especially Montreal, has always been
A little behind.
A little behind. I
And
don't know why that
we're
is.
divided too, right? We have a whole French sector that wants 50% of the airplay.
I don't even know if it's that.
You don't think
I
so?
don't know if it's the powers that be that just they don't connect with the music. Like the guys that call the shots, they don't connect with the music, and they're just like, no, we're not feeling this.
Yeah.
This is not the product that we're going to be putting out on our radio shows. But you see, Evenco gets it. You can't have Oshiaga without hip hop headliners on it.
That's right.
You see, there's every other week there's a hip hop show at the Bell Center, and they sell out. J. Cole was just there last week or the
And
week before?
even Ilsonic.
Yeah.
They brought French. They
You
brought.
can't ignore it.
And Ilsonic traditionally is an electronic
Yeah, an
festival.
EDM festival.
But they have to have a
rock
hip
one?
hop stage.
What's-
Goes hand in hand.
What's the rock one?
Heavy MTL.
Heavy MTL. I went a couple years ago.
Stoop has been there for that.
MGK was there.
There you
Like
go.
All the genres
They get
are
it.
bleeding together.
That's
the
right.
kids that love the heavy metal love Snoop Dogg, and they love. The
But
hip-hop
I
also.
knew 15 years ago, fusion is where it was heading.
But
You
that's
could
how it
already
started,
see.
right?
You could already
Run
see.
DMC.
hip hop started exactly.
Run
It
DMC and
started
Aerosmith.
like
Well,
that.
everything was always sample based, and the ultimate mashup, the original mashup,
Yeah.
was Run DMC and Aerosmith. And then I know you would remember as a DJ, there was a time in the mid 2000s where being like mashup DJ was the new hot thing.
Yeah.
Playing old rock, you know what I mean, with a hip hop and blending.
Do you
them
guys
together.
remember the Judgment Night soundtrack? Blew
Yes, I
my
do.
mind back in the day. It was like
do.
hardcore rock groups that were like A-list rock groups with at the time A-list rappers.
Well,
so it was like
Ice-T was,
Was that
at the
Ice-T's product?
forefront of it.
Ice-T was on it.
Yeah.
Cube
Body
was on
Count.
it.
Body count. Yeah.
Right? Cypress Hill was on it. It was like more of the rock-ish rappers, West Coast guys mainly. But you had like I don't remember what it was, but it was like 9 Inch Nails and I want to say Aerosmith. But like there was like more like rock groups mixed in with this. Judgment Night was a movie with Emilio Estevez, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
And this soundtrack, I just remember buying it and being like 15 tracks of rock rap mashup.
Well, the
Way
West
before
Coast
it,
was
like-
ahead of that.
They went hand in hand.
Yeah. Rage Against the Machine always toured with Public Enemy.
Right. Bizkit was a big one.
Limp Bizkit was the first. They signed me pre-Guru.
Oh wow!
I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't know that.
Pre-Def Jam Fight for New York.
Tell them, please.
My first major deal was with Limp Bizkit, was with Fred Durst, and I went on tour with them, and that was the beginning of me kind of like meeting people in the game. And then I met Guru a couple years later, and then ended up coming out through that lane. But yeah, there was a rock rap tie-in, but I wasn't really feeling no rock rap mashup. My palate was too ignorant.
But at the same time, you could have just done you. And it would have been all right.
I mean, we wanted to. It didn't play out that way. But, shout out Fred Durst and shit. And but you want to hear an interesting tie-in because we just fell on that. So the ultimate troll that everybody's talking about, especially
6ix9ine.
In this bingo. And guess who just landed? He just produced 6ix9ine's new single with Bobby Shmurda, my boy Lethal from Limp Bizkit.
Wow.
Also from House of Pain.
Produced that track.
Yes. Wow. It's DJ Lethal produced new 6ix9ine. So everything comes full circle in this business.
Strange, yeah. Don,
Let's keep moving with Don.
Yeah, no, I got one for you, Don.
Yes.
You've seen just about every hip hop act in the city come and go, and some of them stuck around.
Yes.
Who are some of the guys, and just like throw a couple names, some of your favorites, maybe some guys that didn't get their just due, that maybe should have made it, or maybe stopped too early. Give me a couple names of people that like.
There's a long list. And I'm going to leave some out. Obviously, I'm going to forget some. I can't name everybody.
Of course.
So sorry to any of you guys if I didn't name you, but I got you in mind.
Guys that you think deserved it.
A couple, LES comes to mind as a dude that I really enjoyed his music. Like, he was a really talented dude and put together sonically, like very solid material, and lyrically he was fantastic. LES definitely pops into my mind. Of some of the other ones that have made a lot of noise for themselves and have been very consistent, Magnum, iBlast, which is I.Blicky now, Boy Blue. Boy Blue had a movement. He had when he had that oh man, I'm from Montreal.
Hometown was a big deal.
He had people feeling so proud, like, you know, when he dropped that.
Important, very important.
He that was a good look. Cease Rock. I don't know if you remember if you were at that show at the Belmont when he did a one-man show. Well, he had like features and whatnot, but it was like his effort to put out his CD and whatnot. And I was like, wow, like Cease Rock came through and killed it. Full course.
Cease Rock's more of like an artist's artist. Like, he's bigger than rap for me. Like, that's like, you talk to him and you get that vibe of like real artistic expression. You know what I mean?
These are people, you know, Cease is a guy that he's been doing that. As long as I've known Cease, before I knew Cease Rock, I knew Cease Rock.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's always been a guy that's always been there in the scene, true B-boy, doing his hip-hop thing, and he respects the culture, and it shows in his 100%. Music and how he
guys, if you don't know Cease Rock, go Google that right now.
Oh, yeah.
Keep going, please.
Lopeshi, 80 Rock, Borden, who I haven't seen in a long time. Borden was a beast with it.
They're working on projects. Funny you say both their names.
Yeah, because I know they did the 180 Rock.
We had 80 and Lopeshi.
I'm sitting on probably about 30, 40 Borden Pesci tracks that have yet to be released. They want to do 8-track EPs or 6-track EPs and flood it when it's time. But they're sitting on 30, 40 songs of just Borden Pesci, entirely produced by Pesci.
That's good to know. You're telling me stuff I didn't know, because
it's going to be fun.
It's like over the time after, you know, with things changed, like everybody started like separating and going back into their corners, and I was not hearing or seeing the stuff as much as before. I think there's so much talent in the city, and one thing I want to add, and I want to let all the artists out there know Montreal. A lot of people think, like, you know, Montreal looks at us as like the little cousin or the little brother. Toronto has a lot of respect for Montreal.
Of course.
I was out in Toronto a couple of times for the Stylist DJ Awards. While I was there, I met with, like, you know, program director from Flow at the time, Wayne Williams, and other people, and they were fully aware of Montreal talent.
Oh, yeah.
And they respect Montreal. I ended up being a judge on the Juno committee for the hip hop category for several years. I just stepped down last year.
Nice.
I was for about 10 years. I was on the Juno committee for the hip hop category, and they said, listen, Montreal is the second biggest city in Canada. We're not getting submissions. We're not getting to hear enough representation from Montreal. We need more. So, like, they pulled me on and they said, come on and let's bring in more Montreal talent, because they respect Montreal.
Absolutely.
So for all you out there watching, Toronto got respect for Montreal, because a lot of people feel that, you know, Toronto ain't got. It's not like that at all. They respect.
And you know
Montreal.
what? Everybody starts somewhere. And interesting enough, Don was talking about the Stylist. First time I ever met Drake was at the Stylist Awards.
Likewise, it's the first time I almost met Drake. True story. I have to put it down here. I went to the Stylist. It was that was the year when Papoose Was that the year that you were there? Papoose and Corrupt were there.
Yeah, we were all there, and I was nominated for the Raw Digga video that I done.
And I was there. This was Aubrey Graham from Degrassi.
Oh, yeah.
He was
just
not
an
Drake.
actor. Exactly.
He was Aubrey Graham from Degrassi.
Very humble, by the way.
And I had gotten called. I was coming up. It was maybe the second time that I did the Stylist Awards. And but at this time, Papoose was there. This is when Papoose just signed the $1 Million Aftermath deal. Corrupt was there.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So
Belly was there.
Belly was there.
Drake was there. I was there. This is the real beginnings of what would become.
And I got there, and they're like, "Oh, we got here's some of the interviews." They're like, "Oh, you want to interview Drake from Degrassi?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." This was like even before Replacement Girl with Trey Songz, which was his first.
Yeah,
international.
this is like a year or two before that.
I was like, "Oh, but Cardinal is here." I was like, "Corrupt is here. Papoose is here." Yeah, and Drake, like he said, super humble. Dude was solo. Like he was just walking around,
just
hoodie
happy to
on,
meet people, man,
and just happy to meet people, and like nobody was paying any attention to him whatsoever. It was just like, oh, it's the kid from Degrassi. The next year, 2 years later, it's a wrap.
He's not even showing up anymore.
No, you know what?
He came.
Yeah.
At 1 year, I'm sure that you were there for that year also.
I did the Guru tribute.
Yes.
I made a speech for Guru when he
Yes.
passed away.
Yeah.
And me and a bunch of Toronto guys like performed different Guru songs. And Drake had just blown up.
And that was probably the last time they've seen him
And
on
that
that
was the
level.
last time.
And I remember, and at that time there was no interviews anymore. The Office interviews were no longer there. And he was leaving with what's the dude, Preem. In the Maybach. I think he came to say just like, hi Toronto, I'm here now.
Yeah.
See me now. The year before, that goes to show like what could happen in a year.
1 year.
This dude was walking around in his hoodie the year before, and then when I saw him, he was leaving in the Maybach.
Yep.
All iced out and everything was good.
It's pretty dope. It's a great story.
It's a great story. But
you know what?
Never underestimate nobody.
And stay consistent. You never know where you might end up.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
I have a question.
Sure.
So we heard some of the nightmare stories of shows. What is one of the craziest shows you played, and one of the craziest interviews or people you got to interview that just really stuck out?
Maybe that popped
go
off.
crazy.
Off the top of my head, I got to interview General Steel and Buckshot.
Camp.
I went to the hotel. They were staying somewhere. It was one of the hotels. I don't know. Maybe it's called the Omni now. Whatever. It doesn't matter. So, I showed up to the interview. These dudes are mad cool. They were doing a show at Belmont that same night. I think it was one of those times like when they do like the whole first album of each individual artist.
Okay.
And we got in there and it was just a haze of smoke. And that was my smoking days. And I was like, okay, we sitting down, we cool. And they just started rolling up. And they're just, I sat down and I smoked with these dudes for like 3 hours and they never stopped. And the chick came from High Times, brought them some more shit, brought them some hash. And they were just smoking. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, fuck, I'm just hearing the music. I'm like, fuck, I'm hearing who got the props.
Now you're like, this makes so much more sense.
And I'm like, fuck, I'm sitting here. I used to sit here and with my friends and smoke and listen to their music. And now I'm sitting down smoking with the people that made the music. And they were like the most down-to-earth dudes. And you'd be surprised sometimes what these guys are like, very educated. And they were just like on politics and business and like not.
They had a big
shit.
run. A lot of people forget that boot camp had New York for like 2 years, bro.
They had a lock.
And did you know that when that whole East-West Coast thing was really at its peak with Pac and Big, Pac had reached out to Buckshot and Boot Camp, and they were working on an album.
Yeah.
He brought them to the West Coast, and Pac and Boot Camp were working on an album. That's a fact.
Never knew that.
Could look that up.
Oh, that's cool.
Never knew that. Interesting.
But
Because they had a run, bro.
for many years.
For me, I'm sure you were the same. That was a big influence.
Yeah.
At that time, there was no bigger. To this day, in my live show, I always put out na 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 na.
Yeah.
I always drop that when I do my freestyle.
And it was a big deal too, because in one of the videos, I think it was Buckshot in the Gotcha Open video, he was rocking the Canadians Habs jersey.
Oh, hell yeah.
And back then,
that's a
just,
big deal back then.
just to be acknowledged was like, damn.
But you know who else did that after Capadonna?
Ghostface. Oh, it's
Capadonna.
Capadonna. Yeah.
Shout out
yeah.
Capadonna.
I remember seeing Be Real with a Habs hat on and getting really excited. Like as a kid, there was like a picture that
It
circulated.
was exciting.
It was a big deal.
That was a big deal because
being
we're not
acknowledged.
even thinking that they're aware of that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But here they are rocking it.
And really, they probably just wore it because it
They're
matched
rocking
their
it 'cause, like
outfit.
either it matched their outfit or it's like nobody in the States is rocking a
Yeah,
Habs
they're
jersey.
like,
something
what the
different.
fuck is this?
Or
Oh, it's the
Expos
color.
cap.
I actually, I lost my shit once when Steven Jackson, Indiana Pacers, like NBA champion Steven Jackson, was wearing an Epic Mealtime logo shirt. He's a rapper, right? So he put out a rap video and he's wearing 2-3 outfits in the video, but one of them was the logo shirt and like he bought it. We didn't send it to him. And then I did a little bit more back research and found out that he's got a stylist who buys him T-shirts for the week, and he never wears the same shirt twice. Wow. So it had nothing to do with him. It was just like some girl that's on payroll brought him a shirt that was trendy, I guess.
But hey, it was rocking your shirt.
He was wearing our logo shirt. It was all good.
At the end of the day. But yeah, that was definitely a highlight. That was a good moment. Seeing Ghostface live was
which
incredible.
One? Because it was
that was the time when they did the Dutch appreciation at Club Soda.
Club Soda with wasn't like part of D Block or someone there? Styles P, someone?
Yeah, Chic Luch.
Chic. Funny story with that show.
Yeah.
Master Killer's there selling merch. Nobody knew who he was.
Wow.
And I got really mad watching it. He was at the merch booth. Nobody knew it was Master Killer. Not cool.
Well, one night
that was a good show though.
Great show.
One day,
Sharon opened that show.
One night I was with Jizza and Inspector Deck at M.O.T. Nobody knew who the fuck they were.
Fuck.
I think a lot of times people see them and just think, hey, that looks like so and so.
Right.
Yeah,
and
they're like, why would they be here?
That?
Especially in Montreal.
And in Buenanote, it's like, just don't step on my shoes and we're cool.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
That was a good one.
Okay, I got one.
Sure.
That I want to know personally. This is my own. How did the voice of the city, like, when did that come about? Who gave that to you? How many years did you have to work for that one? I'm curious to know, because you are 100%. Right. How did that happen? What was the progression to be that guy? Like,
how did it come about?
That's a big title.
Once you start DJing as a club DJ.
Right. And I was a club DJ, and anyone who knows me from back then, I was a club DJ. I hated talking on the mic.
Interesting.
I never, ever spoke on the mic.
Where did you...
my boy saying... used to kill the mic, and like people were.
Where did you start club scene wise? Because we know you started, in
club scene wise.
Where were the more notable
after the church hall parties?
Exactly. After you're really confident, and you're like, yo, I'm Don Smooth. You made your name. Now you're playing clubs. Are you playing Platinum? Are you playing? What was the?
I was Motions. Club Motions.
What was the spot? I went there when I was a kid. First time I ever heard. It's a hard knock, but it was new.
Yeah.
It was one of the best clubs I went to when I was a kid. You know where M Burger is now?
Downtown?
Yes.
I don't know. Every time I go downtown, I feel like a tourist. I don't recognize it.
Bro, what was the
I think
name
it's
of
Crescent,
this
like on the corner
club?
of Crescent.
No, it wasn't Crescent. But it was just off Maisonneuve.
Okay.
And it's where M Burger was now. Fuck, what was the name of it, bro? If it comes to me, you played there 1,000,000%, bro.
Well, there was like a Thursdays on a Friday or a Fridays on a Thursday that was like hip hop nonstop. I forget. It was near Prince Arthur on Saint Laurent. Angels was.
Oh, this is before Angels though. We were heavy.
Angels was like, I think it's Rouge now, right?
Yeah,
we were around the corner.
We were heavy in Angels by that. I was living Angels Soda.
Yeah,
this is pre. This is when Bless is sneaking in the club.
Okay.
This is when my older sister's like,
you're not supposed to be
head
here.
Low, I'm gonna tip him. This is Yellow Nautica jackets. This is Jay's not that famous yet. This is like you're sneaking in the club and it's amazing.
No, but to answer your question, you said when I started in the club scene, Motions was probably my breakout club. I wasn't really fully known yet, maybe in a smaller circle.
I remember Motions.
But Motions was like R&B, hip hop, reggae, like
before.
Hardcore. It still wasn't
a hardcore
downtown club yet. But not hardcore, like thuggy hardcore.
I'm thinking the
like
Motions.
You had to rock a suit.
Was,
You still had to rock, like people were rocking
Remember
suits
Platinum?
in those days and whatnot to go out.
Remember Platinum?
Of course. Platinum was right around the corner. That was our big competition. And there was Del Rey. There was a whole bunch. There was that vibe for a while. But then towards the big 90s, like you'd mentioned earlier, when Pac and Biggie and the whole bad boy movement.
Yes.
Hip hop then all of a sudden started to get very commercial.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden now it became mandatory because before clubs was strictly MC Mario, dance.
And they wanted to keep
demand.
Our culture out of the club.
But the kids wanted it.
Yeah.
So then I started getting bookings on Crescent and on Saint Laurent.
Yeah.
Because all those techno and house guys,
they're like,
they didn't know what to do with the music.
Right.
And that's when I started getting introduced to a wider audience. And I was on Crescent doing the sessions and different spots.
Sessions, that was a great one.
Sessions was a big one.
I did my 17th birthday at Sessions.
Sessions ran for years. I think it's still running now.
They just changed different names.
Now I think it's Authority or something.
Sessions.
But
they just sell the club with a little bit of a debt and that's it. Keep it moving.
Honestly, it was the same owners for years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, it was a group.
Okay.
They owned a whole bunch of nightclubs in Montreal.
They would just switch the name out.
Give me the voice of the city, please.
A voice of the city. I don't remember the exact moment.
Like there wasn't a guy who said, you're that guy now.
You know what? Truth be told, it was my cousin that used to like say it, you're the voice of the city, but it hit when
it stuck
in the Montreal Mirror. 2008, I was I was voted the #1 radio host in the city, in the Montreal Mirror.
Respect.
And in the article, the guy said, I think like the title of it, or somewhere in the article, it said, gives a voice for the unheard. And then we just
it's such a catchy. It's such a catchy.
And it said, all right, I'm the voice of the city.
It propelled after that.
It's so catchy. I'm sure. I'm
Very cool.
surprised
Thank you.
nobody else beat you to that.
No.
It's so and it's simple, effective, and it's great.
It's
the voice of the city.
one of the.
But I don't feel anyone was doing what I was doing before that.
No.
Not to that extent.
No.
It's the cleanest, and it's like no one's questioning that. It's not like a T.I. King of the South kind of deal.
Yeah.
Like
you know, and it's good that you
back.
say that, because no one's ever come and said, "Well, who gives you the right to call yourself that?" Nobody has ever challenged
Why
it.
would you? It's Don
They've
fucking
always
Smooth.
accepted it.
But you couldn't, because you really had the main platform.
Yeah.
You were the voice of the city. That's a fact, and you still are.
I appreciate
Because
that.
you're consistent and you've been doing your thing and you're still doing it, and we're gonna keep doing it with platforms like this. So, talk to us now.
Yes, let's talk about 2018.
Right? Where's Don Smooth?
We
What's
stepped.
going
You
on,
stepped
homie?
away from the show.
So you got the history rundown?
We got
Thank
the
you.
history.
All right.
You've been DJing. You've been DJing
Yeah.
since you were a kid.
Yeah.
Came up on that real shit. Sold the guitar. Got nice. Worked your way up in the club scene.
And also let them know I produce records. I put out 2 records.
Please,
2000 and 2001. I did those like break beats, like the Crooklyn Clown style records.
Dope.
Very
Which
cool.
actually,
Aviate records.
Aviate style records. Shout out to Dollar Bill Records. They were
Dope.
produced by Fat Beats, distributed
Amazing.
throughout New
I
York.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
I know the guys from DJ Eclipse and those guys from Fat Beats.
I made 2 of those,
Good
and
for
one
you.
of my highlights was I was in New York and DJ Ace was playing it on WBLS, I believe,
Dope.
at the time.
Dope. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I
Thank you for
produced
that.
2 like party break records.
So stepping away from radio,
Yeah.
daily radio,
Yeah.
what are you up to now? I imagine you're still DJing, of course.
Well, I'm still DJing, but you know, as time goes on, like now when I start, I'm focusing more on like corporate and schools. There's a huge market there. Like I don't want to do the clubs forever. You have to evolve.
100%.
I can't be Don Smooth in the club forever.
More corporate events,
More corporate
community-based,
events,
government
and then-
kind
exactly,
of grants.
So, and with that coming in, you know, a lot of the events during the Christmas time, during the grad season, a lot of the events always fall during the same time. So what I've done now is I've gotten a lot of up and coming and young DJs
Absolutely.
come up. So I build a company. It's
Little
DSG.
agency.
Yeah, DSG and Company. It's Don Smooth Garrett and Company. That's my real name.
Dope.
And so I get a team of these DJs now, and I get these bookings and I send them out. If someone specifically insists on me being there, then for sure, by all means, I'll do it.
But they gotta pay extra.
But that, well, yeah. But that's what I'm trying to build on that. So I want to build on it that the DJing will still continue going on. The name will
You want to
continue
build
going
the
on.
agency.
But I won't necessarily have to be there doing it.
Natural
So
progression.
that's what I'm trying to do.
Tell us the website. Tell us your social media handles, where they could find you if they want to book you
very
guys.
Google me, Don Smooth. Everything is there. I'm so proud of that. I tell my son that. My son just became a teenager.
Very cool.
And I tell your friends you could just Google my
Go
dad.
look it up.
That's right. You know what?
No, but yeah, you could get the Instagrams, the Twitters, the Facebook.
What's your Instagram? Let's give them
Don
that.
Smooth 514.
Don Smooth 514.
Twitter's the same.
Don Smooth 514.
On the Facebook, it's Don Smooth Garrett. Like I said, Google Don Smooth and everything will be there.
And for all your corporate events, holler at the voice of the city.
guy.
Definitely. Professional.
Thank you
legend
for
in the
everything
game.
you've done, Don.
Thank
Seriously.
you. This
Thank you
was
for
fun,
everything
man.
you've done,
I
and thank you for
appreciate it.
coming
This was
on.
fun.
And I hope you come join us as a reoccurring
If you're
guest
around,
panel expert.
I had a good time. I would come back anytime.
Thank you so much.
This was a lot of fun.
Thank you so much.
Moment of truth. I love it.
Moment of truth. Your boy Bless, Lemmy, the legend Don Smooth. We keep pumping. We keep pushing.
Represent one time on the M.I.C.